My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Women of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman Driving Change panel. We have such a special interview today with our 100 Woman of Inspiration book contributor, Ms. Haley Daniels, and her father, Kimberly Daniels. Now, this is a one-on-one conversation with Haley and her support her. And we're going to kick it off here by introducing Haley. Of course, Haley is an Olympian athlete. She is the canoe slalom for Team Canada. And I just want to say, Haley, congratulations. I was up very early or very late, depends what you look at, when you were in Tokyo competing. And it's amazing to see how much support you had beside you, around you, so many millions of, well, not millions, but thousands of miles away as you were competing at the Olympics this year. So welcome. I'm so excited to hear your story. And Kimberly Daniels, of course, Kim's dad, Haley's father. You're a volunteer with the International Canoe Federation, also the technical official, and you still hold those roles, making great strides as an advocate for diversity and inclusion. So I would really love to get started on this interview today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Haley. I guess the burning question is, I know you've done a lot of interviews, but, where did you start? Where did this dream start to become an Olympic athlete?
Well, Dad, you know this well, but I'll say it for all of you. But my story started with my family. So my brother, my mom, and my dad, we had a passion for the outdoors, and we spent time going on rivers and lakes and different areas. And I was always a very energetic kid. And so for me, sport just became really natural because I had so much energy and I needed to channel it. And so, yeah, we have a cabin in Invermere, and I was kayaking on that lake. And I remember everyone around me had all of the cabins had motorboats, and we had human-powered canoes. And so I got out in those canoes, and when I was a kid, I didn't love it as much, but obviously it grew into my vocation, and I'm really grateful for that. And I guess for me, my turning point was, to be completely candid, I was in junior high, and there was a point where some of my friends were getting in trouble, and I think Mom and Dad did not want me to get in trouble anymore. So they kept on taking me to a kayak camp. And then I went to nationals after that because I was invited based on my ability. And I did really like it. I was pretty hooked. And even the days I didn't really want to go, my mom and dad were like, let's still go. There's this camp here. And I kept going. And then eventually it became my passion. I made the junior team, made the senior team. And I started in kayak, actually. And then there was an opportunity for women's canoe to go on the world championships and the World Cup circuit. And I remember having this conversation with my dad, and we sat down and we said, okay, like if I want to get good at canoe, which is where you're kneeling, you have straps over your knees, versus a kayak where you're sitting and you have a double blade, where canoeing you have a single blade. You kind of have to hang up your kayak paddle and focus completely on canoe. So I focused on canoe. And although there was an opportunity to go to world championships and the World Cups, there still wasn't an opportunity for women's canoeists to go to the Olympics, where there was an opportunity for men's canoeists to go to the Olympics. So, I followed my passion of sport and just wanting to be outside and being on the water and the adrenaline rush of being on the river. And then it became so much bigger than me. It became advocating for future women's canoeists to be able to be in the Olympics. So myself and a group of women's canoeists across the world, we all band together, and we fought for gender equality. And it took us 12 years, but we finally made it into Tokyo, which was an absolutely amazing thing. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. But yeah, it was a grind. It was, I think we all know this, but to be a pioneer in any pathway, there is a burden and there are barriers you need to break. And now I know for a fact that the women's canoeists that are on the circuit right now, they do not have to fight for their right just because of their gender. They can show up and just be athletes. And I know that we did our job and our fight was worth it.
That is the coolest story ever. And you're right, it's a grind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on that path to getting that attention, what were some of the obstacles that you and your team of leaders came up against trying to get that?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately gender equality in the workplace, we know, and in sports still has a lot of work to do. Specifically in women's sports, there's just not the same opportunity for women. I mean, we look at our women's soccer players who just won gold in Tokyo, and they're not getting paid nearly as much as the men. They don't even have a circuit in Canada for them to play on. So I think we just really, the biggest barriers was convincing some people to rethink their old ways, and to create the same opportunities that we deserve as females. There was even some comments from athletes. This was on the sprint side because women's canoeing on sprint and whitewater and flatwater was both held back. There were some people saying that women should stay in the kitchen, that it would hinder an ability to have or produce babies. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely absurd. And I think one of the biggest barriers that I found specifically in our sport was that there was 3 categories available for men, and there was 1 for women. So women's kayak was in the Olympics. And the International Canoe Federation said, if we put women's canoeing in the Olympics, we have to take out men's C2. So it's 2 men in a C2 in a boat. And they said, we're going to take away these dreams of these young males that have been preparing so long for Rio or London. And we're like, yeah, you will, because we've had this dream also, and we've never had the opportunity. And there's no equal opportunity here. And we kept on fighting. And I mean, we're here now, but in my mind, it took them a little too long to make that decision.
Well, I would say 12 years too long.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many days, but it's such silly kind of barriers that they're thinking, like women were able to wear a lot of different hats, have children, have careers, and do it successfully, right? It's mind-blowing that those barriers still exist today. And thank you for standing firm, Haley, and making such great paths and strides for all women, because it's champions like yourself that actually do make change, right? And it's never that smooth road, but how exciting is that? I do have to ask though, now that you've made such a great impact, what's the next, do you have something else that you want to change? Like what's kind of burning you?
This is the burning question. I feel like, I honestly hate this question because, and it's not your fault. It's, I don't know. I've worked, I often think of myself as like one of those workhorses that has blinders on, where I can only see what's ahead of me. And as athletes, like if you want to be successful, and especially just getting to the Olympics is such a feat in itself. And then once you're at the Olympics, you hopefully want to perform. And then you don't really plan for after, because all of your energy and time is focused on that, the 2 runs, those 2 90-second runs. So I, right now, my goal is to take care of myself and build a community here. But I know for sure that something that is really important to me is continuing to get women in sport and young girls. I was at provincials on the weekend, and it was so cool to see. There was 45 kids on the water, and there was 10 young girls in canoes, and that wouldn't have happened I don't think if they would have known that I had started my career on that river at the Kananaskis River and then progressed to the Olympics. And I think just starting that fire within their bellies and their hearts to hopefully chase their dream, I think all I can really do is continue to show up the river and hopefully they come with me.
Well, I think you're off to a great way. I mean, young women are very open to role models, right? I look at when I grew up, I didn't have access to the role models that the young women have today where, you know, you can pick an industry, pretty much any area, and you can find access to a leader. And now an Olympian who has walked that path. That's super exciting. So I think that's a huge thing. I think I wanted to, you know, ask you about, you know, we talk about confidence in women. And, you know, it's nothing that you can ever read in a book. So I guess it's just that, you know, you've succeeded and you've made so many great strides. I guess my question, rather than what's next, would be how did that impact your confidence to just like take the world on, whatever that may be next, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think confidence it's an ebb and flow, right? We all know that. Sometimes we're on a high and sometimes we need to find that high again. But I think that I can definitely walk into a room and know that having Olympian status is going to help me in whatever I do. But I do want to use that as a platform to speak to our story. I mean, our story of my dad and I, of my brother, my mom, the fight that we had, and to kind of just help other people realize that following your passion isn't just doing what you love. It's also understanding how you can use that to help other people live their authentic selves. So yeah, I'm really excited for what's next, but I want to do it with intention and slow down. And Paris is just around the corner, and I'm still training and I still love what I do. So I just want to try and see if that's something I still want to chase and do it intentionally.
Well, I do think that you deserve some well-deserved time off in order to, I can't even imagine the adrenaline high coming off of such a big, experience like that. So yeah, it's, very smart. Take your mental health and well-being and put that at the forefront. That self-care that we talk about for women, right, is so important. So Kimberly, how incredibly proud are you?
Oh, that's a great question. Many different levels. And no question, watching a young girl, a teenager say, I want to be an Olympian, and stay the course. Every year we would evaluate Haley's past performance and talk about what are we going to do next year. Every time it was a move forward, and was moved forward with passion. And I'm being proud. I was proud of her when she took on a strong leadership role in fighting for gender diversity. That was so strong and necessary. And she's learned so much along the way. And to support that was absolutely the right thing. And it certainly made me and family members really feel good as we moved along. Just staying with it. Like the Olympics is the end. I went the end as far as a 4-year cycle. But there's so many ups and downs, so much hard work, so many challenges, especially with COVID and so on. But to see Haley stay on track. And the other side that has really made me probably proud at another level is how she's displayed their leadership skills, how she has been an ambassador for women in sport, how she has been a role model for all those young athletes. I was in tears, like I was holding them back, watching how these young kids look up to her and she lights up because obviously this is her passion, is passing on that can-do attitude. And then we both went to Tokyo, and I was on the course. I had a job to do, and to watch her and see how she competed and did her best and was extremely gracious and with her results and celebrated being there and promoting gender equality and supporting me, because there's no question I've been on an interesting path, and having the support of my kids is so magical, and it has given me confidence, and it's real. It was needed, and I continually get it, and I get a lot of my positive energy from my kids, and I love it.
So
can I just quickly interrupt? I mean, I feel like I just need to set a precedent really quickly for us, because it was the first time that women's canoeing was ever in the Olympics. And my dad was the first transgender judge at the Olympics ever. And so, I mean, we broke down barriers together, and I'm super proud of that.
I have goosebumps, Haley, Kimberly. Like literally, I'm like one great big goosebump listening to that, because that is massive, like such an experience to actually do that together. And Kimberly, we were talking in the green room, and while Haley's fulfilling her dreams and working towards her dreams, you had an opportunity also to work towards your dream. And so maybe you can share with the audience what 2020, that year transition was to you to step into your own voice.
Well, you have to appreciate, I went to the Rio Olympics in my other gender identity. And I was planning on going to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics the same way. And then afterwards, come out quietly, quietly, without big press, without interviews, and just live my life as the person who I am. Unfortunately, there was this nasty bug that seemed to hit the world. And really fretting, what am I going to do? And Haley came up with this amazing suggestions. She said, Dad, let's come out together. Let's celebrate gender diversity. Let's celebrate diversity and inclusion together. And let's take control of the narrative. And let's share our story globally. And hopefully other people can understand the challenges, but also can understand that the world is changing, and that it is becoming more diverse. It is becoming more inclusive. And the timing was right. So what we did is we banded together, worked with Calgary Pride, the Canadian Olympic Association, and the Canadian Sport Institute, and launched a coming out during Pride, and which was a year ago. And I'll tell you, it was a little bit scary initially, not really knowing what was going to happen. And the feedback that came back was amazing. It really was. And I want to share something with you. I got a phone call from a senior executive with the International Canoe Federation, who I work with. And she said 3 very important things. The first thing she said was, congratulations. One word, big word, really big word as far as building confidence. Second thing she said was, I have your back. Wow, did I need that? I really needed that. And the third thing she said was, if anyone discriminates or harasses me in any shape or form, there will be harsh consequences. And that made me feel safe. And that enabled me to move forward with confidence. And that was so important. And when I did go to the Olympics, I was embraced with a welcoming environment. Some of the people I've been working with for over a decade, some were new. And everyone treated me as the person I am today. But it also gave me an opportunity to answer questions, help them build connections, because a lot of these people had never met a transgender person before. Now, I'm a little different than others. I mean, we're all unique, but I was able to help share my story and have them understand that I'm just a person. And I've had some challenges, and today I've decided to be my true self and to gain the support and then be able to tell that story to a global audience. That was powerful. And to anchor that with gender equality, to anchor that with diversity and inclusion was wonderful.
What a safe space that you both have provided for future generations. Like, I think that's such a beautiful story. And I guess I want to say now, Haley, how proud are you of your dad, on the other side?
I mean, absolutely. I think anytime you step out into the unknown, it's uncomfortable. And that's why I wanted to do it together, because I wanted I wanted you to feel comfortable. I wanted you to do it with us and have a safe platform and help other people maybe have a transition earlier in their life or something like that. But I think, I mean, there's no manual for transitions. And I think the biggest thing for us was just embracing each other, communicating with each other, constantly having open dialogue about how we can support each other. And that's what's really gotten us to where we are now.
Beautiful. And I always like to ask this, celebrating the achievements of women is so critical. So, and to drive that change. So why is it so critical, Haley?
Well, someone said this to me the other day, and they said that impact takes time. And it does. It takes a lot of time and understanding and a lot of people and openness to change it. And so I think why it's so important is because time is the most valuable resource we have. And so we need to understand that it's something that if we've built it up, it's like mountains. It's something beautiful to look at. It's the same as making an impact like what we've done. It's beautiful to look at and to see the steps we've taken to make that incremental change.
Beautiful. How about yourself, Kimberly? What's your perspective?
Well, I always think of values, and values are something that's core to most people. And in many cases, we're helping people to change their values, to look at things differently, and to learn that they can respect individuals for who they are instead of being fearful who they think they might be. And it's really a case of values. And that's a hard one to shift. And I think we're making some headway with a lot of positive examples and dispelling myths and sharing our story to show we can contribute in a meaningful way. And we can help it in the case of sport, we're striving for excellence. Well, you cannot do it if there's conflict. When people are working together in harmony, amazing things will happen.
So I also want to chat a little bit about worth. Women seen, heard, and valued, asking for what you want. It seems to be still a barrier there. I mean, Haley, it took you 12 years to ask for what you want and finally have somebody say, yes, Haley, yes, we can set you up with this where you're going to achieve what your goal was. But what words of advice can you give to young women to help them ask for what they want, negotiate, or be their own advocates?
Well, I'll preface that with another barrier that was a part of my sport. So I'm amateur sport in Canada. We do not get paid at all. And it costs me anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000 a year to compete. So for me, that was really hard because I had to ask my community, particularly the private sector, to support me to work out for a living, essentially is what it comes down to. But I mean, it's so much more than that. It's inspiring a nation and bringing nations together. But I think defining your worth comes back to like what Kimberly said, is coming back to your values and it's a hard thing to do. It's not easy, because I think that we are our own worst critic. And, I had a meeting with my sports psych today even, and we were talking about this, she's like, Haley, it's okay to slow down and take a break. And I was like, oh, I needed someone to say that to me, because I don't allow myself breaks sometimes, and I'm so hard on myself. So I think that I have a journal, and I write down self-affirmations. And I think that if we can remind ourselves of what we're grateful each day, and that compassion, that can help us create worth and then intrinsically motivate ourselves to work towards something. But we are all amazing in our own way. And I think we have to embrace that about ourselves. I know something I've really been trying to embrace with me is that I love networking and I love socializing, and I'm trying to embrace that, but I also have to remember that I can't do that 24/7 because I will be completely exhausted. So just really taking care of ourselves.
Well, thank you for being so authentic and relatable. That is something that all women, every single one of us, goes through, right? And it's we want to change the world, right? And we want it now, and because we're so passionate for it, we don't, and myself included, I don't give myself very much downtime either. It's easier said than done, especially when you're a change maker, right? So,
well, and I've even found, just to speak to that, I think that specifically right now, downtime is one of the hardest things for me because it forces me to be with my thoughts, and really, really take them in and process them. And I think that busy people and the way society has ran, we're supposed to be workhorses. We're supposed to go, 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 and from one thing to the next thing, and springboard. And instead of processing, how was this day and how can I be better tomorrow, instead of just continuing. I mean, Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again without changing. So if we don't take that time to slow down and process and understand how to be better, I think that, we kind of run ourselves to the ground.
So giving ourselves permission, that is brilliant. And Kimberly, how about yourself?
I think taking care of ourselves is a very important thing. And I am so fortunate that I have a strong network of women and men, old friends, new friends, that are supporting me, and I'm supporting them. And I think that's an important thing. And even we talked about direction, giving some advice to young women. And I would say, be a good citizen within your community. Support your team members and they'll support you. Don't just think about yourself, think about moving together. And if you, the strength of people supporting one another, having that emotional support, physical support, is so powerful, and it helps us succeed. And maybe it's helping someone else succeed. And that may be even more important. But I think it's a matter of being respectful of all people. Competition is competition, but we need to play safe play, fair play, and enjoy the journey. It's an amazing journey, and celebrate all those little wins along the way. It's not just the Olympics, it's every single time to celebrate. Do it, please.
Totally.
Beautiful. And I actually was my next question, Haley, as you land in the airport, in Tokyo, and you go, wow, I mean, so different, right? I mean, not quite the experience that would have been if pre-COVID, right? Because, I mean, you're in your hotel room, you couldn't go certain places. So what was that like for you? What were you feeling? How did you celebrate?
I mean, my relationship with the Olympics was hard because I hadn't qualified until basically 2 months before the Olympics. So for so long, I had actually almost detached myself from the Olympic experience because I just wanted to qualify, and then I could think about all the exciting things. So I actually didn't think about the loss until right before I got there. So it was a lot of processing in the plane of, oh, right, I'm not going to be able to go out into Tokyo, or we're not going to be able to go to the parties after or meet new athletes in the same way. But I was still grateful that they happened. And when I got to the airport in Tokyo, it actually took us close to 5 hours to leave the airport because we had COVID tests and showing our vaccination status and all of the above. There were so many different things, and the Japanese are very precise in how they do processes. So that took a long time, but we got out of the airport and there was the Olympic rings right there, and I cried. I started because I've been working so long to get there, and they're finally there. And when I was on the river, our first sessions, it's extremely hot there. It was 45 degrees with humidity. So it was the hottest place that I've ever been. And I've been all around the world in the summers, and it was a different type of heat, especially training in that heat. So we had all these mechanisms like cooling vests and cold towels and cold tubs. But the thing that was funny was while I was on the water, it's all set up to be ready for TV. And I kept on training like normal, but I kept putting my hands on the Olympic rings, like to hold on, like to wait for my coach for the next one. And then I would like look down and realize like, oh my gosh, my hand is on the Olympic rings, like, like take it off. So it was like these weird little experiences, but it was surreal, and it was, I was very emotional. I was crying every day, and I had thousands of messages from friends, family, and extended network. And it was amazing. It was, I think for me, my biggest moment, to be honest, was qualifying the spot, because I had thought about qualifying the spot for 12 years. I'd obviously imagined being at the Olympics for so long, but that qualification process is so much more grueling than actually being at the Olympics, because you've made it once you qualified. You get there. And I remember, so the competition actually happened where the men's canoe and the women's kayak happened before their entire event was done, before we even got to go in the water. Yeah. And I remember talking to my teammate Florence, who is in women's kayak, and she was like, oh, I'm nervous and da-da-da-da. And I was like, I'm so jealous that she's going to be an Olympian 2 days before I'm going to be an Olympian, because you can't be an Olympian until you cross the start line. And I was like, I just wish that it could be over with, but I also I'm excited for it. But there's so many elements. But it was definitely one of the coolest experiences I've ever been in. I sat at the start line, and I always thought that, I'd envisioned the moment of sitting at the start line of the Olympics. Most of my life, I envisioned the moment I'd walk into a stadium of, thousands of people at the opening ceremonies. And it wasn't that. It was, we walked in and there was video cameras, and we didn't know where to look and which video camera would go to Canada. And things like that. And sitting at the start line, I thought my heart would be jumping out of my chest, and I would be so nervous, and I would, obviously I thought that would all happen, but, I've spent years training to prepare myself for it. So, I did some box breathing before. That's where you do a box of breathing. I did 2 boxes. I visualized the course. I had a great race plan. That start line, I was smiling. I felt calm and ready. And I think that it was that embolism that I was ready to be there. And it was an amazing experience. So I wouldn't trade it.
Beautiful. That box breathing. How do you do the box breathing? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So it's a technique that firefighters use to calm themselves down before they need to go save someone out of a building or something. But basically how it works is if you envision a box, I won't do the full thing, but you inhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, inhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds. And then you just do a box. And I physically, when I do it, I physically like do it with my finger. And it just allows me to focus on the physical breathing aspect. And I always find after a box, my shoulders relax, my body feels calm, my hands aren't shaking. I usually do, if I'm really riled up, I'll do like 3 or 4 boxes. It helps your body to actually physically calm down. And it's shown that breathing was one of the most important tactics to be ready for anything.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing, because I can think of a million different scenarios that box breathing would be fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Before you get on stage or, to do Absolutely. A talk, right? It's just to get focused. But I love to hear how and you said something really important, Haley. I've done the training and I've prepared. Mm-hmm. So right now I can just go out and enjoy myself, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is so powerful. And so if we can teach, our future leaders to just work really hard, put in the hard work, but know that things are going to be a lot more pleasant for you and going to enjoy what you're doing if you have that preparation. Like then you just like enjoy. How great is that? That is so amazing. So thank you for sharing that with us. And how about for yourself, Kimberly?
Well, I have to be frank. There were a lot of unknowns going into this one. It was a journey that I had not experienced, and I was a bit apprehensive. I was a lot nervous, and as Haley said, I had the same experience. She got out of the airport in 5 hours. I got out in 6. But that experience, actually, one of my challenges or concerns was going through immigration, and it was seamless. And I have so much respect for the Japanese people. They are so gracious, and I'll tell you, that made me feel good. I wasn't certain on how I would be accepted. I wasn't certain about how it would all work out, and every single step along the way, my expectations were more than met. People were so friendly, so helpful. I was envisioning all those smiles behind those masks. Mm-hmm. People were smiling with their eyes, and it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so the experience itself, and as Haley was talking about conditions, it was trying. We were masked up all the time. We were dealing with the heat and humidity and everything else, but I had a job to do. Mm-hmm. And actually, similar to Haley, I've been practicing for years, and I have a routine. I stay on the routine, and I was working with a team of extremely competent officials, amazing people, and we had fun, and we did an amazing job. And in fact, historically, this was the best Olympic performance for slalom canoeing that has ever been. And a lot of that was, I would say, attributed to the Japanese leadership and all of the teams working together in collaboration, supporting one another, working through problems. And we didn't have an issue. Mm-hmm. We didn't. So that was amazing. And I did find a mini challenge watching my daughter. And I've gone through some changes hormonally. That's the right word. And it was a bit emotional, but I had a job to do. And I'm able to separate out emotions with the job that has to be done. And we did it. We celebrated, and we've moved on.
Amazing. What great memories that you can both share together. And of course, your family at home.
Mm-hmm. I really wish that my brother and mom could have been there. I feel grateful that my dad was was on the side of the river with me, and most people didn't have any family members or friends there. But it was as much my journey. My coach, Mike, also, it was hard because I wasn't able to bring him as my coach because of some politics. But yeah, I mean, there's so many people that helped me get here, us get here. And yeah, it's like, it's hard because you can only, especially in a COVID year, there's only so many people that are allowed to come. So
yeah, I have to share this one little story. It'll be quick, but I hadn't seen Haley for about 5 or 6 months because she was overseas training. Okay. And when we first saw each other and we were exchanging some things I was going to take back for her and so on, and the urge to hug her. And I was just, my heart was just pounding, and we had to stop and say, and there's cameras everywhere, and the protocol is we cannot. And we had to agree we would have a big, lovable hug at another time. Mm-hmm. And that was, I found, a bit trying, but it was the right thing to do. We all had to tolerate a lot of things that were difficult, but we were all in the same boat. And everyone there respected that. And at the end of the day, we could say we did it. And we did it with grace and with dignity. And we were all very professional how we conducted ourselves. Incidents of COVID did not spread into Japan as a result of us being there. And I now have an Olympian for a daughter, and I'm so excited.
Well, I see nothing but opportunities, right? I am, whatever opportunities aside, but one thing I know that when the world did stop, women kept on going, Haley, and you certainly did. And so as the Women Driving Change panel, I just want to leave with one final question. How are you going to continue to drive that change, Haley?
I think just question everything. Don't let things that you believe in fly by. I mean, I've learned a lot of that with my dad, like people not using proper pronouns or understanding how to support the LGBTQI plus community and be an ally. So just continuing to support women, continuing to elevate them, and also elevate our young males to understand what the difference is between being a woman and a male in a very unequal world.
Beautiful. And Kimberly?
Well, I've taken on a role being an ambassador and an advocate for diversity and inclusion. And I'm also supported and supporting the LGBTQ2S plus community. And that in itself is a new journey for me, but it's really inspiring. And it makes me feel really good right to the core. Mm. And when I see that we're making a difference, when I see that we're creating a safe place for all people to work, to play, to be in sport and so on, I believe in that. I believe strongly in that. But I also believe it takes leadership, and that's the role I'm taking today.
Mm.
Beautiful. Well, I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time, Haley. I know that you've got so many other commitments and, that great big arching, taking some time for yourself, after so many months and years of preparation, finally allowing yourself to have that little bit of breathing space. Mm-hmm. And Kimberly, it was fantastic hearing your story. I look forward to continuing the conversation because, of course, there are way more conversations that we need to have, especially when we talk about allyship and, how men can be champions for women. You see both sides of that story, and I think that's pure gold. So I would just like to thank you both for taking your time. And again, okay, everyone, so the Women Driving Change book, Haley, read her story, pick it up. There's amazing leaders within this book here, and I really truly believe that we learn from other women and their experiences, and that's how we are going to drive change, but we have to take action to do it. So thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to this epic journey ahead.
Thank you, Monica.